Good morning, children. I hope you have seen the previous video of the Muslim League where I have explained about the formation of Muslim League, when and by whom it was founded. It was founded in the year by Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka in the year 1906. And everyone knows, children, that who was responsible for the formation of the league. It was the Britishers, right? And why they purposely formed this body, so that they wanted the Muslims body to be separated from the Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress already a dominating body, and its strength grew day by day. And with the strength of Indian National Congress, Britishers were quite scared, right, children? So I hope so everyone remember, and if you are having any sort of problem, you can refer to my previous video, right, children? So here, by the end of the video, I have discussed the formation and the direct results of the league, and direct results of the league was in favor of the Britishers. What Britishers wanted, they got at the end. And here, the Muslims' objective was what? In formation of the league was to show loyalty towards the Britishers, right, children? And to safeguard their rights, everyone knows. I already explained you the aims and objectives of the league also, children. Aims and objectives of the league was what? To show loyalty, and plus to prevent the hostility attitude with the other community. Like here, the Muslims were totally, under the influence of the Britishers, and this only the Britishers wanted, right? And they started, they simply make them scared in the name of the Hindu community and the Indian National Congress, right, children? So here, the big Muslims leaders, right, the reputed Muslim leaders also came under the influence of the Britishers, and they started training their masses to be separated from the Hindu community, from the mainstream. Right, children? Now here I'm starting with the new chapter, children, and this chapter name is National Movement during the First World War, and this chapter is in connection with the previous chapters. So if you want to understand this chapter, you need to again revise and go through the previous videos which I have already posted in the portal. And here you have to pay attention. You need to pay attention over here. Why? Because those previous chapters were the formation of this chapter, right? And this chapter is the National Movement during First World War, and here I'm going to tell you about the war also started, and that too, here the Britishers started again involved into a war, and here the main challenge of Britishers was what? To fight with German forces, and Germany was the most powerful country. This I will explain you in later on videos, right, children? So here, before that, I'm going to explain you the pact which was formed and what happened, right, children? So let's start with this chapter. The chapter name is chapter 6, National Movement during First World War. Let's start now. So here, if you see, like, before coming to anything, children, before explanation of the First World War, I really want to explain you one pact. Pact means the body or the terms of the treaty was signed, right? And this treaty paved the way for Hindu and Muslim unity. And if you see, this chapter, is there, and this chapter has simply jumped, and in fact this chapter has covered almost, I'm going to teach you the year. I'm simply jumped to the year 1916, and in the previous videos, if you had paid attention, children, I have ended the previous video in the year 1909, right? 1909 was the last year, and this year Parliamentary reform was passed, and here under Parliamentary reform the Muslims got their body, right, by the name of Muslim League. And here they simply introduced separate electorate. Hindu vote for Hindus, Muslim vote for Hindus. That means they have simply a well planned technique they have implemented, and they did divide and rule. Right now, I'm going to jump, right? Obviously the 9 years gap has to be there, and this chapter, I'm going to start after the 9 years, right? And these 9 years, Britishers played divide and rule. Britishers played, right, and Britishers manipulated. What they wanted, they have implemented, right? So all these 9 years, children, all these 9 years of gap, they were very happy. Why they were happy? Because here the Muslim League, a separate Muslim body was formed, right? And this body objective was what? To show loyalty towards the Britishers, and this body was never, simply hated the other bodies as well. This was all everyone knows what was the reality. This was all the part of the game which Britishers have played with Hindu and Muslim community, right children? And one more thing, if you remember children, in Surat split is the, in the previous videos I've already explained you when I did partition of Bengal. Like in the Surat split, if you see, assertive and moderate have parted their ways, have separated their ways, just because of their different methods and objectives, right? Here moderates, discipline methods, assertives totally, they simply protest against the Britishers, right? So they can't stay for long, so they got separated, right? So this also was in favor of the Britishers and they were very happy. Clear? Now this now in this chapter you will see under Lucknow Pact. This pact was formed in the year 1916 in the place Lucknow, right children? And here you will see all communities started coming together. And if you remember this most shocking point, why? Because Hindu and Muslims started coming together, and plus assertives and moderates too started coming together, right? So after 9 years, suddenly there was unity, right? Suddenly the unity started among Hindu and Muslims, among assertives and moderates, and that was a shocking point for the Britishers, right children? So this chapter gives you the reason behind all these things, right children? This chapter gives you an insight to, in the depth about how these communities started coming together. Like earlier they were totally separated, they were under the influence of the Britishers, and achanak, and suddenly what happened? These communities have to come together, the part of Indian National Congress have to come together. The parts or the factions means assertives and the moderates, where earlier they have parted their ways, they separated, and Surat split. If you remember what was Surat split, right? Here assertives and moderates got separated just because of different beliefs and objectives, right children? So here in Lucknow Pact, they all were coming together. Let's see why they were coming together. First of all, the reasons and then the definition. So before coming to Lucknow Pact, I'm going to explain you the factors. Factors means the reasons responsible for the formation of Lucknow Pact. Why all these community, why Indians started coming together, what happened suddenly, right? So let's start children. Here, the very first point, changes in the object of the Muslim League. The very first of all, the Muslim League object was now changed, right? Like earlier, if you see, the Muslim League objectives was what? To show loyalty towards the Britishers, right? They have never demanded for self-government. Now, from now onward, they started demanding for self-government. And if you remember children, self-government was already demanded much earlier by Indian National Congress. So here Indian National Congress objectives and Muslim League objectives, was totally same. They also wanted the self-government and Muslim League too wanted self-government. So if the objectives were same, then obviously it is understood that these two communities can come together and ask for self-government together. Right children? The very first objective, right? Next, come on to that. Next is international event children. If you remember in the First World War, here if I simply give you the a small intro about First World War. Like First World War started in the year children 1914 and ended in the year 1918. In First World War, the very first, the most powerful country during that during that time period, that means in the whole European continent, was Germany, right? And Germany was the country responsible for the First World War, right? She wanted to show her supremacy, right? And here because obviously in order to show her supremacy, she has to she has to give the challenges to the countries which are already powerful in the European continent, like Britishers, America, right? Like many countries, like different Britishers, Americans, right children, France, right, Russia. So all these she needs to give the challenges now. Clear? So here the direct war was there between German forces and the British forces, and Britishers were involved in the war. And if you see here, on the German side, Turkey was involved in the war, and Turkey supported Germans, right? And Turkey supported Germany. So obviously that means, if it is understood, that means they were the enemies of Britishers now, right? So out of that anger, Britishers attacked Turkey. Why? Because Turkey supported Germany. Right children? So now if you remember, Turkey was a Muslim country, and Muslims in India literally supported Turkey. Why? Because when Britishers attacked Turkey, they have changed. They simply conquered the Sultan. Here the head of the Turkey used to be Caliphs, or you can rather say the Sultans of Turkey, right? And they simply changed them. These Britishers forces changed the Caliphs of Turkey, right? This angered the Muslims living in India, and they started protesting against the Britishers. The international event played a very important role in bringing out the unity, in creating the unity among Hindu and Muslims. And with this was the reason behind that Muslims started, getting away from the Britishers. Right children? And they started showing their support to the other communities. Why? Because they were now angry. Why? Because Britishers attacked Turkey in the First World War, and Turkey was a Muslim country. Everyone knows, if you remember the history, you already did in class 6th and 7th, right children? So this was another reason behind the formation of Lucknow Pact, and Lucknow Pact says what? Lucknow Pact means the unity among Hindu and Muslims, right children? This was another second reason. Now let's come on to another slide now. Now another factors. Now here a compromise between the two faction. Faction means the part over here of the Congress. Mrs. Annie Besant and made effort to reunite the two wings of the Congress, the early nationalists and the assertives. Now here Annie Besant, she was a Congress president, children, and she started bringing the unity among the early nationalists and assertives. And if you remember children, again I am repeating my statements now. Here in the previous video in the Surat split, like when I did Partition of Bengal class. So here in Surat split, as early nationalists and assertives have separated their ways, but here they were all coming together. They have forgotten their differences and they were coming together. And who was responsible to bringing them together? She was Annie Besant, right? Next now, effort to bring about settlement between the Congress and the League. Significance. Now the importance was what? A joint scheme of reform that later came to be known as the Lucknow Pact. So all these reasons paved the way for the formation of Lucknow Pact. And here what happened? Muslim League and Indian National Congress decided to keep a joint reform, to keep a common reform, to keep the common demands in presence of the Britishers. Now if you see children, Britishers, they were highly angry, they were highly disturbed. On first of all, the Germany was facing a tough challenge, was giving the Britishers a tough challenge by involving them in the war, right children? On the another hand, in India, they were all coming together. So this was the the nervousness, this was a shaking ground for the Britishers, right? They started getting nervous, and obviously their ruling, their rule, their dream of ruling India was started shaking, right children? Now see what happened next now. Now demands of the Lucknow Pact. I already told you in Lucknow Pact, these Hindu and Muslims were coming together. That means Hindu dominated body Indian National Congress and Muslim dominated body Muslim League started coming together, and they have simply presented some common demands, right? And what demands? And if you remember children, these demands they have to present in front of the Britishers, right, to fulfill their demands, right? So just see what their demands were. Provincial legislatures, they simply ask for the seats in provincial legislatures. Children, provincial legislatures, everyone knows, sort of a parliament, sort of a body, administrative body. Next, the legislative council. Again, the seats they demanded. Both limitations on the power of imperial legislatures, right? Next, Governor General Executive Council. This was also a council, comprises, these were the Britishers' council, and they too wanted the representation, both the bodies. The autonomous provinces. Then safeguarding religious interests, they wanted their interests to be safeguarded, right? Abolition of India Council, they wanted to abolish India Council. Separation of judiciary from executive, and they wanted to keep separated judiciary from the executive. So don't get confused, these were all the demands presented by Indian National Congress and Muslim League together, right? They asked these demands from the Britishers, right children? Let's see now. Now drawbacks of the Lucknow Pact. Now see children, if you remember that suddenly Hindu and Muslims started coming together, right, in forming the Lucknow Pact, don't you think something fishy was there? Obviously something fishy. That means Hindu and Muslims were never, the Hindu or Muslims, or you rather say Hindu dominated body Indian National Congress or Muslim dominated body Muslim League was never in reality. They were never coming together in reality. They were just wanted to mount the pressure. They just wanted to create the pressure on the minds of the Britishers by coming together under this body, right? So if you remember this body, by presenting the common demands, right? Earlier I've already explained to you in the previous slide. By presenting the common demand, this body simply simply has shown the drawbacks, right? And these demands, when they have presented now, so these demands were clashing with each other, right? Like if you see the previous demands, I've already explained you, like in the legislative council and all that, these both bodies have started asking for more and more number of seats, right children? And on the number of seats, these both bodies started clashing with each other. Their interests started clashing with each other. That means result was what? Was it successful? No, Lucknow Pact was not successful, it was a failure. That means result was what? It was a failure, right children? So that means drawbacks of the Lucknow Pact was what? Let's see now. Now the pact kept alive the system of separate electorate. No doubt children, Indian National Congress, Muslim League members coming together, and they have presented the common reform over here. But children, what happened? They simply kept the separate electorate. Separate electorate means they simply discuss with each other, and they what they simply discuss was that if they wanted to go for, if they wanted to fight the elections, here they have to follow separate electorate reform. That means Muslim vote for Muslim, Hindu vote for Hindus. Right, children? Next, the pact provided for the Muslim representation in the council far in excess of their population. And here Muslim League, in all the demands, they started asking for more and more number of seats, right? Which was not justified, as obviously if you see, children, Indian National Congress members are more, right? They too wanted more number of seats, and here Muslim League started asking for more and more number of seats, and these number of seats got clashed with each other. Right, they didn't agreed with each other. Clear? Again, it was a failure. Then the pact introduced communal veto. Communal veto, children, communal veto means veto is a negative vote, right? Communal veto means, that means if any community, here, like sort of, you just understand like this, like in a legislative council, they need to vote, right? Because so many members are there, and if they wanted to pass the proposal, they have to vote, right? And here the voting system says, like, if any community opposes the proposal with 3/4 majority, that proposal will never be passed, right? And here, if you remember, children, if suppose, for example, if Muslim League was passing this with 3/4 majority, if they were simply against some proposal which was already approved by Indian National Congress, so they can very easily gather the majority of 3/4, and they can very easily criticize this. They can very easily veto the proposal. In the same goes vice versa also. Indian National Congress, if suppose if you remember, like Indian National Congress, again, if they have secured a 3/4 majority, and if they pass this veto against the Muslim League proposal, then that proposal will not be passed. So this way, the proposal can never be passed if these communities have secured 3/4 majority, right? So that means this was again a drawback on the part of the Lucknow Pact. That means on the part of the Hindu, that means Hindu dominated body, Indian National Congress, and Muslim dominated body, Muslim League. Right. Next drawback, the executive branch of government was responsible to Secretary of State for India. Right. Next, all these decisions were made at the level of top leadership, involvement of the masses, right? No involvement of the masses. Then obviously, when these bodies were coming together, Indian National Congress, Muslim League, they have not involved the masses, they have not involved the public. What they were doing, public were totally unknown that this sort of pact was ever be formed, right? Was formed, and this way they were going, this way, presenting the demands in front of the Britishers. So this pact was again a drawback. This pact was again a failure. Why? Because they have not involved the masses. Like, masses should know. Masses means, like, majority of the masses comprised of Hindu and Muslim sections, children. They should know what was going on at the top level, right? And they were totally unknown. They were totally, they were not aware of all these things, right? Again, a drawback of Lucknow Pact. Then if you see, executive branch of government were responsible. Executive branch, now they never wanted executive branch to be responsible from the Secretary of State for India, right? They wanted to keep it separately. Again, it was a drawback. So if you see, now again, this way we have come to the end of the video, children. So if you see, children, like this chapter, like, don't get confused, like this chapter is in continuation with the previous chapter. That means if you see this chapter, like, what I explained you about the Lucknow Pact, right? So this pact was formed in Lucknow, and what was the significance of this pact was ki here the Muslim dominated body League and the Hindu dominated body Indian National Congress was coming together, and they were keeping a common reform. They were keeping a joint reform in presence of the Britishers, right, children? And in this reform, they simply asked, and whatever they have asked, they have not approved with each other. They were totally against. Their interests got clashed. That's why this Lucknow Pact was a failure. But if you see, children, somehow there was one positive point of this pact was what? Ki somehow this pact, has created the feeling of, insecurity in the hearts of the Britishers. Why? Like, if you see from outside, Britishers, they were assessing that ki now Hindu and Muslims started coming together with the formation of this body, but in reality they never come together, right? This Indians know, but this Britishers were not knowing, right? So if you see, Britishers, when they have seen that the formation of this body, coming togetherness and coming together and presenting the common demands, Britishers started feeling insecurity, right? And the previous chapter, if you see in the previous chapter, like in partition of Bengal, they were very happy, they have divided. Then in Muslim League, they were very happy. Why? Because this body, was formed and this league was totally formed by Muslims only, and they were simply separated. Their methods were totally separated from the Hindu community, Hindu majority body Indian National Congress. They were very happy. But now, after formation of Lucknow Pact, Britishers were somehow scared. the dream of ruling for years were started shaking. And on the other hand, if you remember children, they were involved in the war also, that I'm going to explain you in my next video, right? So pay attention in this video, listen to it attentively, you will get everything, right children? Till then, thank you.